So my name is Roberto, known as Roby by a lot of my friends,
Alright,
and I'm 27 years old, born and raised East Tacoma.
alright.
Yeah.
And so, how long have you been living on Eastside Tacoma?
Basically, almost all my life, with the exception of I believe 1 or 2 years when I was a little kid.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah,
And so, where were you born in Tacoma, or?
yeah, born and raised in Tacoma, and then there was a time where we moved to Texas for a little bit.
Okay,
Yeah, so we were living in Texas for I want to say anywhere from 1 to 2 years. I was a little kid, so I don't remember too much,
all right, all right.
but
So Tacoma is basically home, right?
yeah, yeah.
Awesome. And so growing up in Tacoma, what was your childhood dream, or what was your aspirations?
Uh, to be honest, man, I think like anybody else that grew up in the hood is just making it out.
Yeah,
I
for sure,
think,
for sure.
of course, as a little kid, you have, I obviously had fantasies like, oh, I'm gonna play in the NFL.
Right,
I remember,
like sports and all that.
yeah,
Hmm.
I remember I was like a fourth grader. I had like this. It was like a student-led conference. I remember a teacher was asking us dreams, and I was like, "Oh yeah, I'm gonna be a football player, this and
Right.
that." But I think realistically, as I grew up, it's just to make it out.
No, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm completely understand there. And so, I guess right now, what inspires you? What kind of work do you do creatively? In a creative way, or what kind of work do you do?
Yeah. So on the creative side of things, I'm big on music and poetry. So
Okay.
I love anything that has to do with poetry and symbolism, throwing in metaphors for. It's kind of my way of. I call it poetic therapy. It's
Okay.
yeah.
So
So
lyricist and poetic
yeah,
therapy, awesome.
yeah. So
And so, what inspires you most? Like, what pushed you to write music or to be a lyricist?
So honestly, I think ever since I was in middle school, I remember listening to music. You listen to it, back when we had the MP3 players and stuff. And
Right,
I would listen to certain songs and I would memorize the lyrics, and I would eventually just write out the lyrics. So they weren't my own lyrics at first. I would just write out lyrics to songs, memorize them, and kind of just repeat them,
right.
and then eventually, you know, uh, yeah, kind of just tapped into something that became kind of like an outlet for me.
Right. What artists would you say was like one of the main artists, or a couple artists that you listen to most
Like currently or
before and currently?
before? That's a good question, actually. So a big influence for me was Chicano rap.
Right,
So honestly, man, there was music that I don't listen too often nowadays, but
right. Hmm.
of course, like one of the legends of I want to say legends of Chicano rap. You got to go with like Lil Rob,
Right, right, right.
music like that. On the
Oh yeah,
more and the more like romantic Chicano love type music, it was
melodies and all that.
yeah, MB Riders and all that.
Right. Sick, sick.
Yeah, so
Nah, same here, man. Same here.
yeah, yeah.
And so, what projects are you working on now? For music or for any kind of project that you may have.
Um, yeah. So music right now, actually, I'm working on a song, and uh, that's kind of on the radar. I'm working
Okay.
on it right now,
All right.
and I'm hoping to release it soon with the visual.
Nice.
So yeah.
So and so for some questions that are a little bit more deep, what do you say is a struggle or struggles that you've had in the past that make it maybe difficult to work on music, or just to kind of like work on anything that you may have a goal
Hmm.
towards or anything like that.
Uh, that's a good question, man. I think something that, or not, I think, but one thing that I can recognize as a struggle for me is it's probably been breaking out of the wall of self doubt,
Right.
doubt within myself or self belief,
Right. Right.
and yeah, I'm not sure if that kind of
No, that's definitely huge.
yeah that dives a little deeper into like mindset wise,
Yeah. No,
but
I'm completely relate. And
yeah.
what would you say? Is like a traumatic experience that you experienced in as a kid, or even as an adult, that shifted your life, or that made a major impact on your life.
Yeah. So yeah, man. To be completely real with you, I think I didn't really come to terms with it until later on in my life,
Right.
and I finally started to be able to identify it for what it was.
Hmm.
But honestly, growing up without a father,
Oh yeah.
growing up not knowing who my biological father even was,
Got it.
like not having a picture, and the constant thoughts that haunted me all my life, like what's wrong with me, why was he never around, why didn't they show up, and it really leads to kind of attacking yourself. It really leads to you really putting yourself down and be like, dang, why didn't they want to stick around, like
Right. Right.
like what's wrong with me, so
Yeah.
I think that was probably, I didn't realize it was traumatic, because you grow up and you're taught, especially the way I grew up, you're taught to just kind of grow with tough skin, and not really wear your emotions, not really express yourself, and
Right.
so you grow up and you kind of ignore it, and you show and, you shove it to the side, but eventually, it comes to the light, and that's,
No, for sure.
yeah. So
No, yeah, I'm
yeah,
same boat, man. Same
yeah.
boat. And how are you coping with those feelings and everything that the emotions and everything that you may feel now?
Um, yeah, man. So honestly, music is one of the biggest
Oh yeah.
things. Yeah, music definitely. Poetry, poetic
Yeah.
therapy. Just writing. Through music, I'm able to express a lot of what I go through. And I feel like music is the real me. Like when I put down the lyrics, I feel like it's just me, like completely. Oh
I
shit!
like that.
Sorry about that, man. My bad.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, but yeah, that's one of the things. The other thing is just taking care of my health. I love to run, so
Okay.
running for me, it's more than just checking off my cardio off a list,
Right.
but it really comes down to, for me, it's like I get so much mental clarity when I run.
Hmm.
And of course, one thing that I personally lean towards too is, I try to stay close to my faith as well.
Okay.
Yeah, so
Right. Right.
yeah, that definitely,
The spirituality.
yeah,
Right.
like prayer and just staying connected to my faith and God and all that. So
Awesome. And so, what would you say your main goals are right now? Just aside from your wellness and everything like that.
man, currently my goals, uh uh honestly, I want to. Well, I guess I have a few,
Hmm.
but I think I can break it down maybe in a few parts.
Hmm.
Um, like if we're talking like health wise,
Hmm.
I definitely want to get back on my grind with like marathon running
All right.
and accomplish certain tasks. Certain have accomplishments related to that.
Right. Right.
On the whole like financial side of things, I definitely want to you know dive back into entrepreneurship and get back into, at one point I had like my little business going with,
Okay. I've
and I
heard of that.
yeah, I
Yeah.
had
Yeah.
some contracts and it was going good, and that's one thing that's always in the back of my head is get back on track with that,
Right.
um and then ultimately, man, just continue to be a father. Right,
Right.
so
No, for sure.
yeah,
For sure.
yeah.
And what's a message of encouragement, that you'd like to share that you'd like to share with the people?
Message of encouragement, man. I would say, as someone who grew up without a father, not knowing who my father was, I would say, and this comes from a perspective of me being there and being. I used to be a person who I didn't want to acknowledge it.
Hmm.
I remember in middle school, we had programs like Consejo, building the bridges,
Oh yeah.
and these were like big brothers or mentors that would come pull you out of class and talk to you.
Yeah.
And there was times where, even when I was on probation, I remember my counselor, Mrs. Grace, God bless her heart. She would try to poke at my heart and try to get to the root of
Hmm.
my behavior and my decisions
Right.
at that point in my life back then, and why I was getting caught up in what I was getting caught up in. And I was always that type to not acknowledge it. I was always like, I'm good, and
Hmm.
specifically when it comes to fatherhood, because they,
Yeah.
they try to come at you and they poke you and they're like, oh, so, you know, they try to ask you questions and kind of be like, oh, so your dad, did you know him? Or,
Hmm.
oh, I'm sorry that you went through that. And that's like the last thing I wanted to hear. And I would always be like, no, I'm good. I'm good. You know,
Yeah.
it's whatever. It's whatever. And I was one of those it's whatever guys, you know?
Yeah. Push to the side.
Yeah. And I say this because as I've grown up, I've met other, you know, other guys who it reminded me of myself at one
Mm-hmm.
point because I hear them and it's like I'm hearing myself when that topic or conversation comes up about, you know, fathers and they're
Mm-hmm.
like, I'm good. It's whatever. It's whatever.
Right.
And
Right.
I think what I realized recently is at this point in my life is me saying it's whatever is probably one of the most selfish things that I could have possibly done because by me saying it's whatever, I am refusing to acknowledge the pain
Mm-hmm.
that it caused me. And when you refuse to acknowledge the pain, you're not giving yourself a chance to heal
Yep.
because you're not acknowledging it. And so,
True.
being a father now of my son, a little 3 year old, love that boy, I realized that the more time I shrugged it to the side, you know, the more selfish I was being to my son and keeping, you know, the ability to love him in the way that he needs and deserves, you
Mm-hmm.
know. And so me, I think just the biggest encouragement I can give to people, specifically people who grow without a father, is to acknowledge that pain,
Mm-hmm.
to deal with it, to heal from it. Give yourself a chance. Like you owe it to not just yourself, but to the people coming after you. You
Right.
know, I don't know, people out there may have kids or may have kids in the future, but not acknowledging it is one of the most selfish things we can do because it prevents us from truly being able to give the best of us. You know, we're always going to hold back out of fear and insecurity and man, do I have what it takes? And you know, I think the ability to truly believe in yourself comes from a place of healing. You know, when you're healed, then you can stand on top of that pain. So that's probably my biggest message of encouragement is for people to, you know, not. I used to run away from it. You know, it was in my genes to run away.
Yep.
You know, so don't run away from the pain. Face it, let it hurt, but also, you know, let it heal. You
Mm-hmm.
know,
Yep.
so
For sure. That's
yeah,
definitely a huge message there. So
yeah,
appreciate you and thank you for sharing.
yeah.
Until
No,
next
for
time.
sure, man. Thanks for having me, bro.